And I'm Dave Freund, and this is The Next Page. Marissa, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. You should be great, because as I look out my window, it is beautiful. Blue sky.
It is.
Sun is shining.
The grass is so green.
The grass is green, and before long, the pools will be opened.
I know. And I've just been hearing all the birds lately, and today I saw my old friend, the groundhog that lives in my backyard. So
The groundhog that feeds in your garden?
Yeah. He's back, and he looks
good.
Rather healthy. So
Good.
It was a good year for him.
Yes. And all of these things that we're mentioning help us build resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it true?
Yeah.
So why is it?
I think it adds a layer of flexibility to our lives to have.
Ooh, I love that.
To have activities or
Yes,
things outside of your job. And that could be
right.
Your job in the home. So if you're like a caretaker or a parent, or your job outside of the home, in an office, or
very good.
Wherever. I think it just good for you.
It's good for us. The sunshine is amazing. The fresh air is amazing. So the title of my post today was Bend, Don't Break. And if anybody was listening over the last few weeks, they know that this was really one of my takeaways. As I did my first quarter reflections, was this quote that was kind of takeoff on the Beatitudes, but it said, "Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be broken."
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I mentioned this, at least to you, a couple weeks ago. I didn't know how much I was going to need this week. So it was really good. So that as I was really studying for it and kind of looking into it more, I was able to practice some of this stuff. Just some of it just this morning. So in my post, I highlighted 5 things or 5 traits that Valerie Burton is the new coaching mentor within Maxwell Leadership. I almost said John Maxwell Team, but that's not what it's called anymore. It's now Maxwell Leadership. And Valerie's amazing. She just, whenever I listen to Valerie talk, it just makes me smile. She's such a positive, down to earth kind of person. And anyways, and she gives these 5 things that resilient people seem to have, 5 traits. The first one is they're authentic. And I love that phrase, authentic. Mm-hmm. And what she means is they're basically at peace with who they are, and they don't feel they need to pretend.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So why do you suppose people who are authentic are more resilient? Like, what does that say to you? That
I guess, I kind of looked at it from maybe a different point of view, from the idea that, like, if you're not authentic, then you're kind of expending energy on being someone that you're not. Or, maybe you're trying to hide who you are, or pretend you're something else or someone else. And that kind of, it's a drain on resources. So if you're draining your resources doing that, then it's more difficult to be resilient.
Oh, that's very good.
But I think also it's good for, it's also probably better for your psyche and your mental health to be authentic. It leaves room for more flexibility to be resilient.
Yeah. And one of the things I love that Valerie was saying is that, if we're at peace with who we are, now that doesn't mean we make excuses for failures. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that we just, I'm sorry, I have a short temper and you just got to deal with it. No, that's not what this means. What it means is that we realize that people do make mistakes. We make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. And what can I learn from it? Authentic people don't have to try to be perfect, because they realize nobody is. And I love how you talk about, it saves you energy. It's just because in times of challenges, resilience takes up energy. Mm-hmm. So if we've wasted all of our energy trying to be someone we're not, there's no way that we'd have the energy for it. And then I love number 2, resilient people are flexible thinkers. They're very self-aware and realize that when their thoughts might be taking them down the wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
That was where I was a few times this week. That's where I was this morning. I mean, and I got to a point like, how did I get down in this hole? Like, this was such a downward spiral. How did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and well, one of the things I did, getting back to the weather, I just went outside.
Mm-hmm.
I walked out in the sunshine. I just listened to the birds type of thing. And it was literally, well, I know that it was less than 2 minutes because I had put hot water in the microwave to add to my cup of tea that I sip on when I'm doing a podcast. And so that was only in there for 2 minutes. And when I came in, different mindset,
Mm-hmm.
because it allowed me to kind of push my thoughts from negative to positive.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that we need 3 times as many positives to make up for the one negative we had.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of number 3, where she said they are mostly, and she put mostly in parentheses, optimistic? What were your thoughts around that?
I didn't have an immediate reaction to that, but I think, it comes back to what, like what Valerie says, that I can get through this attitude.
Yeah.
So they
Yep.
go hand in hand. So I think if you approach most situations from a place of optimism or from a place of positivity, then
Right.
it more or less becomes your habit to approach challenges with resilience, with that, I can get through this. We can get through
Exactly.
this type of attitude.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I loved, though, when I read that, when I just first read the quote, the fact that she put mostly in parentheses there is like, she gets it. And that's what I love about her. She's just so real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not always optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
There's times when we are, I ask my family, there are times when I can be one of the most pessimistic people around.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, I think I can flip it.
Mm-hmm.
So if our listeners can't be aware yet, I'm making a good argument to myself that maybe I am more resilient than I think I am. That's kind of where I'm going with this. There's a lot of affirmation statements in this podcast. But so the point is that, don't even try to be perfect with your optimism. Just always come back to it. Say, yeah, you know what? I can get through this.
Yeah.
Because, and the other thing is that it's not that they don't see the risks.
Mm-hmm.
They see risks in what's going on, but they build in contingencies if the risks occur.
Right.
And they're honestly looking at it. I had mentioned to you before we hit record, because I'm working on my budget for next year for our training department, and there's a lot of uncertainty going into the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Will this inflation spiral continue, and will that begin to curtail the spending that some of our members have on training? I'm thinking, I already heard from one leader this morning only, where he said, I really think with all of our costs going up, training is going to be one of those things that might be cut back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reality. So it's not that I'm denying. I'm not saying, oh no. There, what we offer is so good that there's no way they're going to stop. No, you look at it and you say, so what are my contingencies?
Mm-hmm.
What if something happens, what do I have to cut back on? But all in all, this is where I think I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really I love that part about resilient people. Number 4, they reach out to others. Now, I think you and I have done a podcast, and I wrote a post on Don't Go It Alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's so critical. Why do you suppose we need to have other people around us? What are your thoughts? What do other people bring to Marisa?
I think just connection is really important when we think about resilience, and for a few different reasons. When you have those connections and strong relationships, you have people that you can rely on, whether it be for help or for just listening or support. Those types of things, I think it's really important. And then it kind of can take you out of places where you're stuck. So if you're stuck in maybe a negative space, or kind of not being very flexible with your thinking.
Right.
But I think
Yeah.
those are opportunities to shift your mindset, even if it's just a
Yes.
distraction for a bit.
Yeah.
I think it just
I love that. I think there's two things that I think, two different ways to look at it, reaching out to others. One is clearly when I need to have somebody speak into my life and help me think through things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of times when you and I, before we hit record, we're talking about all kinds of things other than the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of times when you've helped me think through something and I've seen it in a completely different light than I did before. There's times when we all have fears, and we just need somebody to help us think kind of through those fears, because, our fears are a product of our thought life. And we've said this before, if we change our thinking, we change our fears. Then the other side of this is when I reach out to others in an effort to help them, I take my focus off my concerns and my negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important. If I can invest in other people, how I can help them, wow, now that really is going to help me become much more resilient. The last one of Valerie's is they use their strengths. And this really is key too, where, recognizing what you are really, really good at. What are the things that you do better than most? And then when you start to feel stressed, go back to your strength zones.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think we're stressed and we don't realize that we are actually outside of our strength zone when that occurs. I know that happens to me. If I'm starting to get really, really stressed, it's because I'm trying to do things I'm not good at.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than calling people and saying, hey, can you help with this? Because I've got some real concerns, some real issues. So again, it's staying in your strengths. So those 5 areas, they're authentic, they're flexible thinkers, they're mostly optimistic, they reach out to others, and they use their strengths. And those are the key things that she feels make people resilient. And one of the things I loved that she also said was, she said, you need to coach yourself. And you need to ask yourself, if I look at those 5 areas, what am I doing really well? And what am I struggling with? And then spend some time refocusing, re-energizing on the things that you might be struggling with. So, what can we do to just try to, what does Marisa do when Marisa needs to be more positive? Because positivity certainly is going to contribute to resilience.
Mm-hmm.
What does Marisa do when she needs to be more positive?
I would say there's a few things that I could do. So some things I like to do would be, I'll call someone just to catch up. I'll call my mom or my sister or something like that. Or I like to, you said you went outside. I like to go outside and go for a walk, just movement, like being up and about. And then I think this practice that I recently heard about, it's similar to a gratitude practice, but it's a little bit different in the sense that you do this at night. You walk through your day from start to finish, thinking about all the things that including really tiny things that went right for you that day, and it's kind of just like this little treasure hunt through your day.
Yeah,
where even if it was something just like I was on time. Which, for me these days is something. If I can get that's a win. And you just kind of acknowledge even the smallest of things.
Sure.
My dinner was really good, or I drank my coffee warm today. You just go through your day chronologically, finding all of those little nuggets of positivity throughout your day. And I also find that it kind of puts me to sleep. So.
Okay.
So then you drift off in this state from a positive place, instead of, I think sometimes a lot of us might have a tendency to get in bed and your mind starts racing, or you start thinking about your to-do list or whatever.
Right.
So this is just a little practice that I just recently heard about and I've given a try.
Marisa, that's amazing. So do they actually call it like a daily treasure hunt?
It was
'Cause you mentioned that.
something like that. Like it was
Okay.
something. I feel like I remember hearing treasure hunt or something of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so good. I'm going to steal that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Daily treasure hunt. Because really, you're right. It's similar to gratitude. It's just like, what went well? One of my highlights of my day is my first sip of coffee in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a coffeeholic. I mean, I make one Yeti with coffee in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare for me to have more than that. And then I typically switch to tea. But it's just getting up. The house is quiet. I do love now that it's a little brighter.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it when it was dark out. But I get into the kitchen. I make my coffee. That first sip, like, yes, this is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
And I
thinking
think
about
those
some
are
of
the
those
things you're
little
talking
things.
about, right?
Exactly, because I
Yeah.
think in the past when I've had other gratitude practices where it just felt like I was looking for too many like large things. It was like, yeah, I'm grateful for my family, but like, I'm grateful for a roof over my head, like, all of those things, which I am certainly grateful for, but you start to run out of those
Right.
big things. Like
Yes.
I used to keep a journal and it was like, well, I feel like I keep repeating the same kind of big overarching things that I'm grateful for. And this
Right.
is a little bit different where you're really looking at, even it's like I had a good hair day or just a little, the sun shined while I was walking to
Yep.
the mailbox, just finding these little just nuggets of positivity and being
Sure.
grateful for those. So
Absolutely.
you are able to find an abundance of them.
Yes, I love
That's
that because
a great thing.
what you're doing is you're living in abundance. Then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I used to have good hair days. I don't have many more. No. And it's a good thing this is a podcast and not a video.
Yeah.
Anyways, because I don't have enough hair to have a bad hair day or a good hair day. Those are all behind me. No, but I love that, and I love the one of the other things, and I think just looking for things to be really feel a blessing. For me, as and my office at home is set up with my aquarium in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I put a new backdrop in it that I had made. Believe it or not, made in Serbia. Believe it or not,
Wow.
of all places. And it came, and it took me forever to get it put in, but I just sit here and I watch these fish swim around, and it is so relaxing, and it just allows me to think at a different level, think deeper,
Mm-hmm.
and those are simple things that, I would never say, wow, I'm just so thankful for my aquarium,
Mm-hmm.
but it is something that does help me stay focused in a more positive, less negative way.
Mm-hmm.
So love that. And I'm waiting for the other thing that I always loved, that I learned that I loved last year. I didn't know it because we didn't have it before, but when we had our pool put in,
Mm-hmm.
I love going out on a sunny day and just watching the water.
Yeah.
Something about, because I don't have a lake that I can be at, at home at least, and it's just watching the water
Mm-hmm.
is just so relaxing and recharging.
I agree. Me too.
Okay, so then that was great. So I love your treasure hunt piece. I'm going to steal that for sure. Getting moving was one of the notes. You already talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise. I definitely need to do more of that. The gratitude piece and why am I grateful? What's the why behind it?
Mm-hmm.
More than just, wow, I'm so happy about this. No. What's the why? Play was something that Valerie talked about. And we can get so focused on work
Mm-hmm.
that we forget to play. Last evening, we were watching 3 of my grandkids because my son and his wife they were getting ready to stain their hardwood floors last night. So they had to clean all the dust from sanding. So we had the 3 little ones with us, and I forgot what I got done with a meeting. I went upstairs and they were doing something like playing some the tickling crab game. And they just came over to tickle me. So I sat on the floor
Mm-hmm.
and we were playing the tickling crab game. And when my daughter-in-law came in, I think she kind of wondered what is
What's
Dad doing
going
on the
on?
floor.
Yeah.
But we were just laughing and having so much fun. A 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old or whatever. I forgot how old they are.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe almost 6, 4, and something like that. We had so much fun play. And then the connection piece, we've talked about that, having connection.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the American Psychological Association also gives us 4 things that we should be focusing on if we want to increase our resilience. One was building your connections, literally prioritizing relationships. That's good because, I don't do that enough.
Mm-hmm.
I really should look for ways to connect more frequently with people. It's so easy today to connect, but yet I don't. Foster wellness, take care of yourself. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Find your purpose. And what I loved in this was when I dug down into what they were, dig down, whatever proper English is, you know that better than I do. What I found out what they meant was helping others. Again, it takes our focus off ourselves and puts it on somebody else. And then embrace healthy thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Don't allow yourself to go down the path of toxic thinking. One of the things is that helps us keep from toxic thinking is limiting our exposure to toxic people.
Mm-hmm.
I know people would say, well, that's counterintuitive to, it goes counter, not counterintuitive, it goes counter to your thought about connections. But no, having the right kind of connections with the right kind of people, they're going to help you, not tear you down.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can be more resilient. We just have to work at it.
Mm-hmm. And I think the thing about resilience too is, I think you and I both admitted today, like, we needed this week. We were struggling with being resilient. But
Yep.
I think that we are all more resilient than we think we are because,
yes.
We have come out of our worst days already. So,
right.
I think it's sometimes helpful to look back at some of those experiences and say
yeah,
that was tough, but so am I. And to be able
exactly.
to realize that you've already come out of your worst days and there's no reason why you can't continue to do that.
I love how you took us all the way back to some of the teachings we did over the last couple years,
mm-hmm.
where we are the evidence that we have overcome amazing things,
mm-hmm.
and we can again. And we come out of it stronger and better.
Yep.
Which kind of tells me then that, part of something that resilient people do is they lean in to the discomfort. Once they get themselves, mentally and emotionally right, they lean in so that they can actually capitalize on the opportunities that will be there that others might miss.
Mm-hmm.
Did we forget anything?
I forget a lot of things.
I'm out of notes. I mean, anything specific pertaining to bending and not breaking.
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, if you can't think of it, then certainly there's no way I'm going to think of it. So I have no idea what we're talking about next week.
That's okay.
Yeah, we'll think of something,
mm-hmm.
right? Do you have any exciting springtime bucket list things coming up?
We've got some different outdoor activities that we're doing. Today, the day that we're recording is Earth Day. So we are doing some different Earth Day activities this weekend.
Awesome.
And we're doing a park cleanup, which I'm really excited to do with the kids. So
good.
Yeah.
That's great.
How about you?
Well, I can't help my son with his house because he's putting polyurethane on the floors. So we can't do anything in there.
Mm-hmm.
Next week. So I'm probably going to work on my own house. I have to do some work on my deck. I'll love it because I'll be outside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Great.
So with that, I'm Dave Freund.
I'm Marisa Norcross.
And this was The Next Page.